You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace. You're now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humbled host, Heru, and we got the veteran astrologer, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Brother, I am doing very well, very well. How about yourself, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, getting ready for some key things taking place in the sky. You know, so just observing that, and enjoying the changes that I'm experiencing, but everything's good.
Yeah, man. Definitely everything is gravy right now. Especially you just have a new addition to your family, man. So that's always great. Every day is an experience to see them grow and develop and to become little people. So definitely, I could feel you, man. I know you're a happy father.
Indeed, man. Yeah, she's growing, man. She's changing every day, man. So definitely a blessing, no doubt. All right, but before we get any further, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Calipurusha Astrology. You can find Push It Forward Media Group on Instagram at Push It Forward. That's PUSHITFWD. You can find us on the web. At the same spelling, Push It Forward, spelled just like the Instagram handle.com. And on there, we got short films, we got articles, we got, this podcast, you can find that there. And, just a bunch of stuff coming up, right? Brother Ra, how about you? How does the people get a hold of you and everything?
You can hit me up on IG at Shechem Ra, or you can hit me up on Facebook at Shechem Ra. You can even use a Gmail account at Calipurusha Astrology at gmail.com. So if you're looking for any type of information, charts, questions, those will definitely be the best three options for you as far as getting a hold of me.
No doubt. So yeah, here we are. This is technically the official season finale of season 1 of the Cosmic Convos podcast. How you feel?
Doing all right, my brother. Doing all right. I'm feeling great. These 25 episodes have been phenomenal. We've got a lot of information out there for the people to gather and to use. So I really feel that this show is going to take off on an even higher platform and a higher level come next season. So y'all want to definitely stay tuned, definitely chime in, and definitely keep your ear to the streets and your eyes to the sky.
Absolutely, man. This is a good accomplishment. I think just on any level, it's good to have an idea, have a concept, embark on it, and see it through, and stick with it. So I think that's just a good practice in its own. For the both of us, and just the space. I know there's a lot of things out there on YouTube, a lot of different people out there, but there's not a show like this out there. I could confidently say that in any realm, whatever astrology you're talking about, the perspective that we're given, it's not out there. So I'm just glad to be able to be a part of filling that void.
Indeed, I have to agree. I see a lot of shows either online or on YouTube, or I've listened to some podcasts, and they're all pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have their thing, but this is different because you as a listener have the opportunity to impact the show. You as a listener have the opportunity to literally let us know what it is that you need to know so that we can fill in the gaps for you. So by and far, yeah, this show is definitely one that it sets itself apart from the rest.
Indeed. So, getting into the today's show. So this is actually the third episode dropping today right here in the season finale. We decided to, lump them all up like that, in lieu of what we're going to talk about, in this show, right? So we're, of course, when we, at the end of the season, after this show, we're going to be off for a few weeks. And we just put together a package for you that'll definitely hold you over until that time, no doubt. So this is the official season finale here, episode 25, right? So, there's been getting into the topic of today, it's been a lot of, talk around social media and, YouTube, a lot of videos being made about something special that's occurring, right after the winter solstice, right? Kind of a, once in a lifetime or once in a very long time type of occurrence is happening, in the heavens. Brother Ra, you want to kind of give a context to that, as far as what's the uniqueness of, what's happening, at this time period.
Indeed. So, as of December 25th, 2019, there will be a eclipse that will be occurring, and the eclipse it takes place right around, I want to say, probably about 6 in the morning. Close to that time frame, because the moon will conjunct the sun at that point in time, right around 6ish, between a little before 6 actually. Actually between 6 and 7 really is kind of the time frame we're looking at. That's when the official eclipse happens, but it still reverberates throughout the day, right? So an eclipse, what is it, right? It's when the sun, right, comes in front of the moon, and it's so phenomenal because the distance from the Earth to the moon is exactly 108, right? And then the distance from the distance from the sun to the moon is 108 moons. The distance from the moon to the sun is 108 suns. If I'm correct, it might be Earths. I'll double check it. I'll make sure I have it before we end the show. But the synchronicity of it is phenomenal, because nowhere in the galaxy, I don't say galaxy, but the solar system, will you see that the moon will fit exactly in front of the sun to block it so ever perfectly. It could be a little bit bigger, it could be a little bit smaller. So eclipses are very special in that we know that this is something that is almost seemingly created by a hand or some intelligent force. Right? That
Absolutely.
And that's why they're so special, because then we can see that, wow, this occurrence, which does happen every 6 months, is very regular. It's not something that's irregular. Every solar eclipse has a very regular algorithm to it. It's a rhythmic process. So every 6 months you will have a full eclipse. The next eclipse that will happen is June 21st. Summer solstice. We had a winter solstice, then we'll have a summer solstice. And that's going to be interesting, right? We're going to do a show on that too, right? Definitely.
Yep.
But the reason why this is so special is because not only is it an eclipse, right? But two planets that are very prominent and powerful in astrology have come together to kind of yield or lend its powers to the eclipse. And when you look into the night sky, let's say if you really were to go out and look, if you could see it, right? In the morning, let's say this morning or tomorrow morning. You can still see it tomorrow morning too. All the planets are in one line. They're literally in a line. You know, like they have these movies and kind of show the planetary alignments, and all the planets look like they're like just in this one line. That's what you would see if you looked out and could see the planets in the night sky, right? You see there's a line of planets directly, right? That's pretty phenomenal. That's pretty rare. Right?
Yeah.
Not only that, because Jupiter and Saturn have such a specific rhythm, every 20 years they will conjoin, right? So you won't see Saturn and Sagittarius, Jupiter and Saturn conjoin in Sagittarius for at least another, right, at least a couple of 100 years.
Wow.
Right? Because you have to remember every time it conjuncts, it's in a different sign.
Yeah.
See, Jupiter takes 12 years to make a circuit, and Saturn takes 30 years. So in between that 20-year period, that's when they conjoin. And so as they conjoin, there's a 20-year gap. So it won't reach back to Sagittarius, right, for quite some, at least, well, let's say Saturn will be around to Sag again until 30 years from now. Well, Jupiter will not be in Sagittarius at that time. In another 30 years, it'll happen. Jupiter still will not be in Sagittarius at that time. So this is very prominent. This is very special in that the way the planets are lined up is talking about some very specific importance or omens that we're here to look for. So Sagittarius is the sign of higher knowledge, wisdom, gurus, teaching, grace from God, spiritual knowledge, all those things, religion, belief systems, all those things that are affiliated with Sagittarius are going to be highlighted and exacerbated for the next 6 months to a year, depending, maybe even 2 years. What we do is we take and you can do this for yourself, see how many minutes the eclipse will happen, and that's how many years of effect the eclipse will have. So the last major eclipse, which was actually on my solar return, August 21st, right, the last major one, right, that hit America, because the eclipses have a line of sight that they kind of influence on the planet. So wherever that line of sight is what you will kind of, that area will be, or that place, or that those people, country, what have you, will actually feel the impacts more of an eclipse than any other area of the world, even though we all will feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2017, that eclipse passed over the entire portion of the United States of America. It will happen again very soon, in fact, but it was still a very phenomenal experience to be able to at least witness something of this gratitude, of this nature. And one of the things we don't do when you practice this form, or the form I practice of spirituality, you don't go outside on an eclipse. You just don't. Right? Not during the time that it happens. Right? Before and after, you're fine. But during that window of time, you want to be away from those inimical forces. There are reports done to show that those forces literally change the physiology of things on this planet.
Yeah.
So it's just wise, right? If you have to go to work, you have to do things, you got to live, you got to do what you got to do. But, it'd be wise to maybe do a meditation, use some hekau or some mantra to kind of clear your spirit, sage yourself, just different little things you can do just to kind of, reset yourself to make sure that you don't get any type of forces coming your way that you really don't want. But that's what an eclipse produces. So in the sign of Sagittarius, again, the sign of higher knowledge, gurus and teachers and religions, right? This is going to be a very, very interesting next few years for those particular areas of life. We're more than likely going to see a lot of things that were hidden be revealed, and not only revealed, but removed. Because Ketu still has 14 degrees to move backwards to Sagittarius, so it's still imputing and giving its energies to that particular realm or area of life, even though the trigger or the set mark is the actual eclipse.
Yeah.
Right. So, with that being said, it shows a good deal of force and energy being applied to the area of spirituality. Right? So, it's old news, and everyone knows that the Catholic Church has been horrendous with regards to its sexual endeavors and its idiosyncrasies. Everyone knows this. But you're going to see the confession. You're going to see literally maybe even opening of the books of some form or fashion, that shows that they are coming clean. Because K2 is like a tornado. K2 is like a tornado. It's real silent before a tornado. Have you ever been in a tornado before?
I ain't been in the center of one, but I've been around when the tornadoes.
Right? It gets real quiet, man.
Oh yeah, it's no joke.
You could hear a pin drop. It's so quiet. The tornado comes through, noisy, and then after the tornado, how is it? You can hear a pin drop.
Quiet. Yeah, it's quiet.
That's how K2 operates. So we've heard the pin drop. Now we're about to hear the tumultuous winds moving the debris right around to reshift and recapitulate to get back to that center again, back to that silence. And that after that, that's when things will finally be healed and finally be revealed and come out in its entirety. So we're going to see a lot of these things in different areas, different religions, not just Catholicism, but other things, other religions, that there's going to be some surprises that we're here to see so that we can see inside of things. Jupiter's in his own sign. He's the master there. No matter what. If the planet is there that rules that sign, he's the master. Or she's the master, whatever planet you're dealing with. So it has to say, and it wants to. Sagittarius is the energy of being super honest to a fault. Almost to a fault. Honesty is good to a degree if you're dealing with someone that can handle the honesty. Right? I mean, not to say you should lie, but I'm saying that in light of, in fact, there's a polygamous book that talks about being able to communicate in a way that is commensurate with having someone being receptive to that honesty. But Jupiter and Sag doesn't care. It's going to tell it no matter what. And it's being empowered by K2's relentless cut your own head off to reveal, right? To reveal those kind of truths. So we're going to see major stuff happen in religion, right? New religions. New stuff, new groups and new things come out. That also, you'll see that for the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is that the way the planets are, you have Mars in Scorpio. Mm-hmm. You have Mercury, Sun, Jupiter, Moon, K2, and Saturn in Sag, and then Venus is in Cap. So guess what else you can see? There's going to be some definite division amongst men and women.
It's already been building up the whole time.
It's going to be even bigger for the next 3 years because Venus is the planet of women and Mars is the planet of men, and they've been interceded by 5 planets that are kind of separating the two. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see major differences between men and women, even more so exacerbated during the next couple of years. Right? This is how you begin to see the snapshot of that eclipse and what it's going to bring, because Venus is the planet of love and Mars is the planet of passion. But they're not together. They're interceded by 5 planets that says on either side of us, right?
5 planets.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. Right. With K2, which is really 6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. That's pretty serious for relationships, y'all. So hang in there, y'all. Fight the fight. Stay in. If you're married, stay married. Right? If you love someone, look beyond the small petty stuff. Allow that person to be cathartic, to tell you their inner truths without any judgment. without any judgment, without any passing of you are bad or good, or just allow that person to tell their truth and be impartial to it. That's what this lesson is with regards to relationships. Be impartial to that truth. Allow that truth to heal you, to close the gaps, to mend broken wounds, mend broken bones, right? Let this period be, let the truth be a suture, right, to the love that we all desire and need as far as our everyday life is concerned. Let it sew up and connect instead of letting the truth break down and separate things. That's the real lesson for this particular solar eclipse. Most people are not going to tell you that because they're looking at it from the eclipse perspective. I'm looking at it from the whole planetary arrangements perspective.
Yeah.
So again, just little things to be aware of during these next couple of years. You'll find relationships will be a little more challenging. And what you'll find is that because Venus moves so fast, Mars moves so slow, Venus won't even link up with Mars, which then could actually bring a whole lot of passion and love about. But because they're in a separate state, and Venus is moving so quickly from Mars, they won't be able to connect to kind of do that make love reconcile. So the reconciliation will come through truth, honesty, through being upright, forthright, telling what it is that you have in your heart of hearts, not holding anything, no secrets. That's what we're looking at, folks, in light of real day, everyday stuff. Now, we talked about previously the United States of America's chart, and I'll probably say this every time I say the chart. Some people don't agree with it. I find that it works like magic, and I know that a few other people have as well. A few other reputable astrologers have found it to be that it's a Sagittarius ascendant. And when you do the math and you do the research and use a few other articles that I have commandeered throughout my learning process in astrology, it's Sagittarius is America's ascendant by far.
I mean, it's the whole vibe of the United States has that, it's like a lot of just slogans, sayings, like a lot. It's very idealistic, it just has that Sag vibe from the beginning. It's just as far as like the disposition.
Well, what was the founding principles of this country?
Land of the free, home of the brave.
The founding principles was freedom of religion.
Yeah, freedom of religion. Yeah, that too. Yep.
That's the first thing it says.
Yeah.
And people say, well, it's probably Gemini ascendant because of the whole way of America is being set up. But guess what? Sagittarius as America's ascendant, the ascendant Lord goes into Gemini, so it still yields that same disposition, but it's not Gemini.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
The ascendant degree of America is 8 degrees, which is in Mula. Mula is a bunch of Thai roots. How did America start off with what? 13 what?
Colonies.
Thai roots. Right? There's a movie based on the history of America which reveals how America got to be so powerful, called Roots. Hello. K2's in the second house of the second house is your early childhood, so the second house is the early nationhood.
Yeah.
And guess what's there? K2 in the sign of Capricorn. And K2 is an oppressive planet. In the early stages, right, you and I were the stocks and bonds. We were the stocks. Yeah. We were on Wall Street.
Yeah.
That's K2 in the second house. I could go on each planet throughout all of it, and it matches perfectly. Where were most of the modern day inventions that we take for granted? Where were they all invented? Let's go down them. The telephone, where was that invented? The airplane,
Here.
where was that invented? The
Invented
automobile,
here.
where was that invented?
Yep.
All three
Yep. All that's
things
invented here.
show that the moon, the mindset of this country, is in the third house in the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of inventions, and the third house is the house of hands.
Mm-hmm.
This country invented the majority of the things that we take for granted on an everyday basis. The computer, all those things are invented here.
Would you
Showing.
say that?
Go ahead.
Just a quick aside. Would you say that the Lord of the Third being Saturn? I know we talked about this before. Saturn being a people, but maybe specifically black people. That
Well, look,
that shows in the chart that that the most of those that innovation is coming from the dark people in the country.
it could definitely have an import with regards to the Saturnalian influences. Saturn itself is in the 10th house.
Mm-hmm.
That shows a great deal about the black man's role in this country. We are the bedrock, second house of this country. If it wasn't for Africans in America, you wouldn't have America.
Mm-hmm.
So within the context of inventions, not only inventions, but hard work,
Yeah.
sacrifice, paying your dues, blood, sweat, and tears, dying to something old, your homeland, your country, your ways, your religion, your food, to be recapitulated into a whole new existence. I say Saturn in 10th house shows a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, by far, we could definitely say that there's a correlation between the black man in this country and the status and the power of this nation. Without a doubt. But that's just a real quick tidbit to show that that is America's chart. It is, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, I know folks, astrologers they got a special hair. Astrologers grow in special places that yeah, it gets kind of curly, and they think theirs is the way. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm always open to dialogue and to sharpen my toolkit. But the research I've done and the people I've dealt with all pretty much concur that Sag is a very strong propensity, if not the propensity, of America as a nation. It just is.
Yeah.
So looking at that, this particular eclipse will happen right over America's ascendant. That means this country is about to get a facelift, y'all.
It's gearing up.
It's gearing up. Trump, he's been dealt with, right? For the most part. And it's not over till the fat lady sings. Let's say it that way, right? But I told y'all he was going to get impeached. I told you. He's getting impeached. Now, whether the Senate will ratify it or authorize it or find him guilty, that's another process. But the impeachment process has ensued.
Mm-hmm.
He is impeached. Whether or not they're going to remove him from office is the end result. That is what everyone is looking for. But it is on his record as a president.
Yeah.
Period. So, part of astrology definitely showed that one to be right and exact. Right? Right? But it's going to be major overhauls. Personality change is the fundamental piece of the first house, meaning the personality itself is the first house. Personality change is the 8th house. Well, the 8th Lord is in the ascendant during this eclipse because the 8th Lord is Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what's coming to America, y'all? Not a new look, but definitely a new feel. It's going to feel different.
It's It's conjunct the Mercury, which is in the 8th house.
Yeah.
In the natal chart too.
Exactly. I'm just saying. Like, you can see this coming. This next election is going to be one that I wouldn't say is unprecedented, but definitely not one we can roll the dice safely. Right? It's a crap roll. All of these moving parts. Think about it like this. All of the moving parts. And here you have all of these moving parts in Sag simultaneously in the ascendant of America. That's pretty phenomenal. Yeah. So what we're going to notice also is that this country will have some major challenges with the way people are going to approach this country, because all of those planets, those 5, we could say 6 planets, are going to be in opposition to 4 planets in the natal chart of America. So now we have 5 to 6 planets opposing 4 planets in the ascendant, and the 7th house is big business, trade, foreign policy, things like that. That's what we're going to see, is major, if not potential skirmishes, maybe even a small war, not a big one, a small one.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough animosity within the energies that are being presented to do that. But Mars will be in Sag right around February.
Mm-hmm.
So Mars moving into Sag, that's when you're really going to see the what hit the fan with all of this stuff, with the elections and the impeachment and all of the things that are in the news. That Mars, when it moves into the ascendant, was going to be a wake-up call to say, look what's going on around you. Look at all the tumultuousness in this country. Then maybe people will say, yeah, Sag is the ascendant. They might. But I'm just saying, like, you're going to see those things within the next year to 2 years. There's going to be some big differences in this country. We were talking about Andrew Yang, the propensities of him, and he has all these planets in his ascendant. It would be phenomenal. It would be monumental if he got in office. And thinking back to this eclipse that we have on December 25th, that is phenomenal. If he gets in office, that shows exactly what it was talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I'm betting on Andrew Yang. I'm not. I don't have a dog in the race, because I know they're all selected at some point anyway. But even still, it's just phenomenal how by the hand of God is still at work. While even though man tries to manipulate things, it's not beyond the compass of the Supreme Being.
Yeah.
And so we may very well see, and I said we may. I'm not going to say, I'll know more. We'll know more by March, when Mars is in Sag. I'll have a definitive on who I would say would be the person that's going to be the next seat of power, the next person in the seat of power. By then I can see. Right now, it's just too uncertain. It's too uncertain. So, big changes coming for America as a nation. Big changes coming for us. Now, the other thing I want to keep in mind and to people is that Saturn will move into Capricorn in January, right? And Saturn in Cap, right? It's in its own sign. So, when you're on your own house, you don't, it's your house. You're not going to really come in and mess your own house up. Saturn in Aries will mess up Aries' house, but he's not going to mess up Cap. That's his house. And so, being his house, he's less apropos to do damage, but he still has to do his work. And so you'll find that large organizations, will definitely be paid attention to within the next 2.5 years. Saturn and Cap, that's what Capricorn is all about, is big business, was also about corporations. Corporality, the worldly side of life. And so we're going to see those corporations definitely when Jupiter moves into Capricorn in, I believe, September, right? that's when you're going to see the changes with regards to policies, with regards to rules and regulations, those things with big business, big taxes, things like that. All those things are going to come out, and those companies or corporations are going to be under scrutiny. It's going to be, those companies are going to be asked to call it they're going to be called to task to produce and to make sure that they're in the best interest of the people. And if not, you might see a few corporations either merge or fall because of the change in business structure. And Saturn, you're like, how does that work? And Saturn's in his own sign because Jupiter is going to join him. And Jupiter is the 12th from Capricorn. So you're going to see that as well. And in America, you're going to see a recession. It is coming, folks. Saturn will conjunct K2 in the natal chart of America. Saturn conjunct K2 is not great for finances. And the second house is a house of savings. So you're going to see a big thing when it comes to the recession. We're going to have a recession. It is going to happen. And I mentioned it previously. I said between 20 and 2021. And that's what we'll see. Jupiter will be in Sag for a while, like I said, until I think right around September. It'll go into Capricorn and then retrograde back into Sag and then go back out of Sag into Cap. All of that within the next 9 months. Now, further going in with regards to America's destiny and chart, Saturn right now is squared Saturn. Well, aren't we witnessing that right now? We're witnessing that. We're witnessing some tension. We're witnessing some boxing, some things being boxed in.
Oh, yeah.
Saturn square Saturn. The great thing is it's going to trine Saturn. So the recession won't be a classic recession, like hard hitting to the point where you can't recover. Just keep your job. Be frugal.
Yeah.
Don't eat out. Do group. If you're in a spiritual organization, somebody might cook one day a week, and everybody goes to that person's house just as a routine to kind of lighten the load. You're gonna have to learn to share. You're gonna have to learn to do more with less. That's what we're going to see with Saturn entering in Capricorn. But it's also going to trine America's natal Saturn. So it just won't be that hard, super hard recession, but it will be one that will be felt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And Saturn will be in the second house of America's natal chart. And all the planets that deal with the exchange and trading of goods, that's the 7th house. Well, if you count from the 2nd to the 7th, that's 6 house placements away. That means there's definitely going to be, like I said, that recession is going to definitely hit a lot of big business, a lot of foreign trade. Going to have issues with China even more so now. See, when there's a changing of the guards, that's when usually the prisoners get a little crazy, don't they? Right? So this is how we begin to understand the imports of this particular placement, because this doesn't happen that often, y'all. This is a rare event. So with this rarity, we're going to see some rare things come out. I mean, we just had Baba Ram Das passed a couple days ago. And that's Jupiter being right in that Sagittarius energy with all those planets. Baba Ram Das is a pretty famous American guru type deal. He's he's a guru, so out of India, and wrote a few books, some of which I've read. Very informational. He was psychedelically oriented in the 60s and 70s, so been around for a while, but an icon definitely nonetheless in the American spiritual world, and he's passed. So you're going to see more of this coming. More things that have imports around spirituality, gurus, teachers, belief systems.
Yeah, I was looking it up. He's real big on he was,
LSD.
proponent of LSD. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So, I mean, he's big amongst the European community.
Yeah.
African American, not so much, but definitely big amongst. And even in India, he's got a name. He's got some notoriety. So, just showing you little things to look for as kind of signposts to let us know that this is what's happening around us. This is the reality that is being imputed to us from above. And it's not the fear, folks. None of this is about fear. It's really about strength and knowledge and preparation and the ability to use time to your advantage. That's what this is all about. So if I was a betting man, I'd say within the next year, you're going to see some crazy stuff when it comes to elections. You just saw it. Stuff that we didn't expect. Because a lot of the people that really are kind of the last of the Mohicans got to fight it out. Right? And it can get dirty. It can get ugly. Politics is not cute. Not in the least. So you'll see a lot of that as well. A lot of judgment type deals because of that Sag. Judging you. You did this. Look, you did this. You didn't pay your taxes here, and you're gonna see candidates doing that all kind of which ways. Because Sagittarius can be self-righteous as well.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that's what I really would call home to task. Now here's the other thing. A few other things just to kind of leave on your mind is that America's going through a Pluto return. America is having a Pluto return. Its first Pluto return, y'all. The first one in history.
Yeah.
Right. That's big. People say, well, I thought you didn't use the outer planets. I do. But I don't use them for natal charts. I use them for mundane charts, things that can exist over an amount of period of time that can receive the impacts of the planets and their cycles. So from a nominal 248 years, America's age, Pluto returns at 248 years, and we are having simultaneously we're having an eclipse over the ascendant of America the day after solstice. That's like a slingshot being pulled all the way back to the wall, and you just put a pebble in there and watch that thing go. And the pebble is even a pebble. So whatever's in that slingshot's bands, when it's propelled forward, it's going to do damage. The eclipse acts like a slingshot, and after 6 months, you'll see the rock moving forward. Does it make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're experiencing, y'all. So, like I always say, keep your ears to the street, but your eyes to the sky. Right,
so would you say?
Go ahead.
Would you say that Pluto return would really bring home kind of like, kind of put America's value system, on trial, as far as what the country was built upon?
I would say maybe not the value system, but definitely the perception of what America is and the identity, the self-identity of what America is all about. Right? If Andrew Yang gets in there to office, that will literally be the chickens coming home to. This man's from China, and he's ruling America. I mean, the concept of that is just sometimes it escapes us. We don't see it, but it's a very, very powerful concept to think that this whole thing, if Andrew Yang gets into office, the whole perception of America will change worldwide. It was bad enough. It was enough when Obama got in. That was enough when Obama got in. That changed the perception of America in its entirety. But an Asian man coming into office, That would be unprecedented. And it would shift the perception of America. So I'm not saying he will be president. I'm not saying he won't be. I'm saying we have to allow things to mature a little bit further so we can see a little bit deeper. But for the most part, for him to even be running is still phenomenal.
Yeah.
And doing so well. I didn't think it, man. I'm going to say I counted your boy out. I'm just going to tell you. I didn't think it. But it's working. Pluto is at 5-6 degrees in America's chart. So guess what else happens? Saturn will conjunct Pluto and K2. Big time stuff when it comes to resources and finances, y'all. Big time stuff. Big time. So with that being said, we're going to table it here because I think that the imports of this particular eclipse has been laid to, or at least given to be applied at a regular level when we're dealing with relationships, of our own spiritual truths. Just be careful with what you speak. There's power in the tongue. The rudder of your life is your tongue. In Kemet, Set stands at the helm of the boat. Haru stands at the back of the boat. Even though the back of the boat appears to be the lesser position, it's actually the position that controls and steers and guides the boat itself.
Yeah.
Haru is our will. Haru is our ability to decide. Haru is our ability to control impulses. Ability to not speak when it doesn't need to be spoken. Certain things just don't need to be said. Truth.
Yeah.
So I advise you all, as family, definitely just be gentle with your words and your judgments with people, folks. Be understanding. Come from a place of compassion, of mercy. And then you might have that same compassion and mercy extended to you when your judgment comes. Because judgment happens every day. It's not just one fell swoop. We die every day, y'all. And we're reborn every day. So that the next days that you're dying and being reborn be ones that literally fill other people's lives with mercy and healing versus judgment and condemnation.
Yeah. Yep. All right,
So,
man.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we sliced that up, pretty well. Before we get out of here, I want to remind you all that this episode was brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Calipurusha Astrology. Make sure you follow us on our various platforms, contact us, go visit our websites, things like that. And make sure you follow Cosmic Convo Podcast. We're at COSMICCONVO. That's on Instagram. Follow us. Tell a friend about us. Contact us, DM us, comment, like, all that stuff like that, because we definitely appreciate the engagement. We will, contact you back. Indeed. So, this was the season finale. This was episode 25 episodes. This was definitely an interesting journey right here. And I think this is an excellent way to end this first season. Before you know it, a few weeks from now, we'll be back geared up for season 2, coming even harder. Indeed, we're going to put some different changes in there, make some enhancements to the show and different things like that. And, I think we'll really be able to take it to the next level. All right. What's your thoughts, Brother Rod?
I think next season is going to blow this one out the water. I think next season we're going to get so deep and so explorative when it comes to those truths and topics that we've been exploring in the last season, because we're going to have more opportunity to really see and apply what we've learned. We're going to get an opportunity to see what happens with that eclipse. We're going to get a chance to see what happens with Saturn going into Capricorn and Jupiter going into Capricorn as well. So we're going to be talking while these things are happening. So it's going to be phenomenal. The upgrades, the changes, the addendums, all those things are just going to make the show that much better. So definitely, y'all, just tune in, spread the knowledge, give people the ability to get insight into these things, and, you know, pass it on, because next season you definitely don't want to miss out.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I want to thank you all for tuning in this first season. You know, it's definitely been one of the highlights of this year for my person. And you know, we will see you all when season 2 starts. Be looking out, you know, mid January. It's probably when we'll launch the first episode of season 2. So, you know, if this is the first episode you came across, go back and check out all the other ones. We got 24 other episodes, just filled with, you know, priceless knowledge and perspective that you're not going to find anywhere else. So, you know, with that being said, thank you all for tuning in this season, and we'll be back in 2020. All right. Peace.